While I'm inspired each year by all the brilliant, innovative, and effective solutions and strategies at this gathering, they won't be enough to shift our collective course without an accompanying and radical change in heart. For me, what's central to humanity's strife and the devastation we're wreaking upon Mother Earth is an imbalance of the masculine and the feminine. As some indigenous peoples of the South have said, the bird of humanity has been trying to fly with only one wing. Reclaiming the value of the feminine within each of us to bring our human wholeness to this time of revolutionary reinvention is essential. We all are needed to transform our systems to bring health, peace, and justice so that we all may thrive across gender, race, orientation, class, and among the entire web of life. We have to reawaken and exercise the feeling parts of ourselves, our intuition, our body wisdom, our dreams, and our deep listening. As we re-enliven the parts of our hearts that know that relationships are far more important than accomplishments, goals, or tasks, we'll become better partners to ourselves, each other, and the earth. If we practice our capacity to be comfortable with vulnerability, with uncertainty, and to be attending the abundant cues and clues that surround us, it will help us to become resilient and flexible and adaptive to change. This is not about devaluing the masculine side of ourselves. It's about reclaiming the whole of our humanity. As Charles Eisenstein says, the way forward isn't to erase gender differences, but to restore them to health and reclaim them in service to life, and to do that in a way that honors the blurry zones, the queer, the trans, the gender fluid, that invariably arise along with this or any binary distinction. For me, I find I must begin with my inner self, since what's out there likely reflects what's within me, and it's far too easy and not ultimately effective to blame others without cleaning, updating, and reorienting my own house first. So my journey this year has been about learning to listen more closely to my heart, to shift my primary guidance system, my compass, my source of navigation, from my head to my heart. I'm practicing resequencing my inner voices so that my heart's instruction can lead and be supported by the plans, analysis, and structures that my mind creates. When I listen with my heart, I am pierced with an empathic awareness that calls me into action beyond what any amount of learning, reading, or mental understanding can prompt. I agreed last spring to host a panel at the UN Commission on the Status of Women. It was focused on women, health, and extractive industries. And I already knew that women were often on the front lines, but I had no idea of the systemic way that corporations have targeted women in their efforts to plunder the earth, nor of its staggering global extent. Whether mining for coal, gems, or metal ores, drilling or fracking for oil, multinationals move into mostly indigenous communities, first with man camps. The women in these often remote regions are the first to be impacted, with escalating rape, sex trafficking, prostitution, and domestic abuse. Next, the men receive the fallout, with rises in alcoholism, drug abuse, disease, poverty, and joblessness. This not only decimates families, it destroys entire traditional lifeways, landscapes, and languages. At the UN panel, women from many nations rose and spoke. Listening, I felt my stomach recoil in anger. My empathy cringed in recognition of their pain. I recognized how systemic, entrenched, and brutal the global war on women really is. When I got still enough to listen to my heart, I was enlivened by their courage and inspired by the outrage in their voices. I remembered that anger is our body's way of telling us that a boundary has been trespassed. I remembered and felt in a deeper way how interconnected their lives and mine and ours really are. Indigenous communities worldwide have been especially hard hit, with intergenerational histories of forced locations, broken treaties, systemic racism, and land theft, decimating cultures, knowledge systems, and ecosystems. When my heart takes this in, I am stunned by the rot at the foundation of this nation, by the profound and largely, still invisible legacy of theft, deceit, and violent destruction that this country was built upon. And while Ta-Nehisi Coates recently made a great case for reparations in recounting how the U.S. economy was built principally upon the institution of slavery, I wonder how huge and deep the case for reparations might be to begin to attempt healing with the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island. Yeah. A woman leader I know of huge heart and spirit, a single mother of 3, told me of leaving her home in Oakland one morning. As she left, there was yellow police tape across her neighbor's door. A woman she knew had been shot while trying to protect her kids. Arriving at her workplace at Bayview Hunters Point, where she works to save the lives of young brown and black girls, she found the same tape there. As I learn to listen increasingly to my heart's guidance, I am as often led to feel places that are painful and uncomfortable as I am to recalling my gratitude, my native optimism, and my sense of celebration. And although my culturally entrenched habits incline me to shy away from these shadowy realms, and the patterns of white privilege within me would have me smooth over the ruptures that often occur in multicultural settings, my heart is strengthened each time that I choose to lean in and engage with others' whole truths fully. At a Cultivating Women's Leadership retreat, most women there had been raped or abused. I wondered about the effects of so much violation, but as our days unfold, I am struck by their strength, stunned by their resilience, and humbled by their commitments, their vision, and their resolve. Meeting women from Serbia, I see the light shining from their eyes and feel the playful and power of their buoyant hearts. I learned their ancient kolo dance, which is a circled restorative ritual that's been practiced since Mesolithic times. They share how their dancing and singing together has healed thousands who've been traumatized by their wars. I am stunned by the power of women and their capacity to heal. Wise elders, friends, and mutual mentors among the women I'm honored to work with remind me to listen deeply to all my sources of guidance, to seek assistance from nature, from my dreams and my intuition, to inquire of my ancestors before determining a course of action. To change my internal wiring means having to slow down, even in this wildly sped-up world. So one pattern I'm trying to shift is my relationship to time. I see how I've been chronically hyperactive, mimicking a multi-armed goddess, though I only have 2, and always feeling unfinished and behind. Nothing I could do is ever enough. My to-do list could never be completed. I heard myself offer the same apology far too often for damaging a relationship or disrespecting a beloved friend. I'm so sorry, I'd say. I was just moving too fast, and have too much on my plate. I saw I had come to equate busyness with being important. I realize I need to decolonize my mind, to shed layers of bias and beliefs I didn't even know I had, and practice reclaiming and remembering other ways of knowing. My heart told me to listen this year. With a father who died early from heart failure, my blood pressure cuff and practitioner cautioned me that my heart's numbers were unsustainable. I ruefully began medication, which barely changed anything. And then one morning, I awoke from a dream, knowing I have to meditate. I stayed in bed, breathing deeply and slowly, and I emptied my mind. When I arose and checked, my blood pressure had returned to normal immediately, for the first time in months. Thank you. I'm learning now that caring for the world requires that I care first for myself, and that they are inseparable and interdependent. My acupuncturist tells me that I am chronically yin deficient, that the yin energy in our bodies needs rest to replenish and to repair and regenerate. So the irony is not lost on me as a woman whose life work involves women's leadership, but then I remember that we teach what we most need to learn. I'm practicing shifting from clock time to nature time, remembering to enter stillness between events, and not acting just because my head tells me to. Along the way, I've discovered something about the feminine. I'm learning that listening is not a passive act. Life's teaching me that it doesn't just require my ears. I'm learning to listen with my belly, my dreams, and my intuition. Not only does it require actively attending to receive guidance, I've discovered that I also have to ask. And then wait, patiently, if possible, for a response to come. As I practice reclaiming all of my human capacities with my inner self, with nature, with my body, with ancestors and dream time and intuition, I find I have many more sources of insight than I'd previously imagined or remembered. Janine Benyus recently shared a biologist's view of climate change in a way that helped my heart wrap around it more than ever before. It's all about context, she said, about relatedness. As the world is getting hotter, species are migrating north at an average rate of 6 kilometers every 10 years. Now that may not seem very fast to us, but in nature, she reminded us, everything is connected. Everything is hitched to everything else. So if you're a flower whose pollinator has moved north faster than you can, this may be your last year. If you're a predator whose prey has headed on, you too may be heading for extinction. My heart keens with the sense of life's very fabric unraveling. But imagine, instead of people being the instruments of Earth's destruction, if we re-enter a sacred partnership with all of life on behalf of her healing. May we remember how to bring the wholeness of our humanity, our deep listening, our patient observation, our loving, powerful, and tender hearts, and our humble hands, and our prayers to co-creating the conditions for thriving life. Thank you.